Hi and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about preservation. You see, there's been a pretty big push to a fully digital future, with the fact that Sony themselves have stopped producing discs, and people have been very resistant to that. One of the arguments I've seen arise within that is where you're going to buy your games. You already stopped buying physical games. And firstly, I didn't, and secondly, GOG, and thirdly, you can still buy them on Steam. Why? Well, because in quite a few cases on Steam there's no DRM, which means that yes, you can still burn that game down to a CD or use it however you like. I wanted to highlight to you why that can be important with one game in particular. Our story actually starts here on YouTube. You see, little me at the time, being around the age of 13, was scrolling it, and I found this trailer. It was for Battleborn, and Battleborn is made by the same people who made Borderlands. At the time, Borderlands was my favorite series of games. It's still up there for me. And I saw this trailer and I got excited. A new game, a new IP from those people? I loved almost everything about the trailer from day one. I still think it looks really good, honestly. The character designs are unique. I love the entire nature thing they got going on with like the game being extremely colorful. I love the character design. Like, look at this guy who I'd eventually end up maining when I was playing the game. And then as things would progress, it turns out that Battleborn was gonna be a MOBA. Now, I wasn't a big fan of MOBAs, but I didn't care. It was made by the people who made Borderlands. I'll still play it. And so I did. I actually went ahead and pre-ordered it, something you should never do. So I managed to get my hands on this game on release. And now, Battleborn faced a big issue, probably the one thing you know about this game, if you know anything about it. And that is that Battleborn was released on the 3rd of May 2016. Just a few weeks later, Overwatch 1 was released on the 24th of May. Now, obviously, when you are faced with a smaller game, a smaller studio, a game with way less hype against Overwatch, yeah, one is gonna die, and unfortunately it happened that Battleborn was the one that eventually died. It got shut down in 2021 and essentially became inaccessible, even the single player campaign, even for people like me who purchased and bought it. Now, to quickly show you what happens when I then boot up Battleborn, I can load in and then it will have the sign in message, and then I'll get a player initialization failed, and that's because it can't connect to the server because the server is offline. Now you can see I'm not immediately being thrown off anymore, and that is because I've gone to the Battleborn Reborn Discord server, and there is a link to a tutorial which guides you through how to install a mod that allows you to bypass the login screen. Now, to show you what you aren't seeing, we'll have to go to a screen capture. So if we go over here, we go into Battleborn, you can see I have the option here to select a new save. So if we click that, then we can just give a random display name, or just do this, and create a save file. Then we select that save file and click Save and Start Campaign. And here we have it. You can actually play through the entirety of the story in Battleborn, even though the game is technically not available anymore. Of course, you do need a copy of the game, but you can do it. Now, this includes the entirety of the story. It also includes all the PvP maps with bots. As far as I don't understand, it does not work with other players, so you can't play co-op yet, but it is in the works. Now, it goes as far as allowing you to select whatever map you want to play. Let's say we want to play the Renegade, or just Void's Edge, because it's cool. When you select that, then we'll get to select a hero. In our case, let me see if I can find him, we'll play Marquise. And we just click next. We can get to pick different gear slots, which are essentially equipable items that you had in Battleborn, and a character skin, and then click start. Now, I know it's in window mode, but I just so I can all tab and everything. I haven't looked at the settings, but you can see the game is playable. You could go through this entire mission if you want to in a game that you can buy that is technically not available at all anymore. Now, you can hear the audio because I don't have it set up in OBS, but the audio is also playing. Everything about this game technically works as it's supposed to, down to the skill tree of the different characters, the different abilities that they have, and so on. It's incredibly cool, and this is all a thing that you can do when you own the game. When you own a game on Steam, you can actually do things like this. It's why a game being shut down is not its final breath. It's also why I believe that at times, platforms like Steam, or as long as they're on PC, they allow for more freedom. And that is exactly because of things like this. You'll have to access the game files. Essentially, all you have to do is go to the Battleborn Reborn Discord. There's a download in there for this mod pack. Once you have it downloaded, just switch back here so I can show you. You need to go into the Win64 files, and then you can just add them. It's these two files that you're adding, and that allows you to bypass basically everything up until you can play the game. It is pretty simple actually, and it's pretty cool. There's a full tutorial in there, so I'm not gonna bother guiding you through that, but you can go there and check it out. What I mean to do when I'm talking about this sort of thing is just to prove that you can actually preserve games that are purchased on Steam. All that is required is there to not be any DRM. And usually when a game shuts down or when it's deactivated, there isn't any DRM, so to speak of. So you can actually, if you can get bypass all the limitations of the different fucking login screens and all that, for some games you can actually fully play them. Now, it's of course not going to be the same for everything. I doubt this is going to work for, as an example, Amazon's New World. Now, without getting into all of the nitty-gritty with Amazon's New World, essentially it's an MMO that came out, had a lot of people, then it lost a lot of those players through bugs and just a lack of content. And then early, I think last year, it got a notice that it was shutting down. Basically, they weren't going to update it anymore, and they were going to shut down the servers to make room for something else. That also means that if you purchase that game, well, you're shit out of luck, buddy. I'm currently working on a bigger video talking about Amazon's New World, because I think it's a honestly pretty decent MMO in and of itself, and I think it deserves some more attention. But the game itself is still available, and because it's available on PC, there's a decent chance at some point in the future you will see private servers running for Amazon's New World, as that can happen here on PC. It is something that, while not necessarily impossible on consoles, are very unlikely. And that is partially because to have that running on a console, you'll need to be able to get into the game or whatever you're trying to access files. And unless you are jailbreaking your console, good luck doing that. Now, if you make a simple Google search of Sony's stock price, you'll actually see that within the last day it's been going up. In the last 5 days it's also been going up, and within the last month it's also been going up. Now, you might be wondering, why is that if this physical media thing matters so much? That is because this entire debate matters a lot to people who are already pretty balls deep in the discussion about games. The reality is, it's been completely outshined by GTA 6. It has been completely obliterated by it. Now, I've seen a lot of large numbers being thrown around by different people on social media talking about 1 billion in its first hour. I have no idea where those claims come from. I found this article which mentions roughly an estimated 180 million in digital pre-order sales across the US in the 5 largest European markets in its first week. I'm not sure, man. I'll just be completely real. I have no fucking clue. What I can tell you is that GTA 6 will undoubtedly attract an audience of people who are also fairly casual into gaming, people who might not know about these sort of things. Why is it then still a win that we are still talking about it, and that Sony is still getting backlash over the stopping of physical media and kind of forcing you into this digital ecosystem of owning nothing? Well, the answer to that is actually relatively simple. The more people who know about it, the more people are going to wake up to this reality. And the reality is, right now, not a lot of people know or care. However, in the future, and I believe especially when it starts to hit the PlayStation 4 stores getting shut down, a lot more people will care. And that is the simple reality of things. There weren't as many gamers during the PlayStation 3 times, at least not here in Denmark. I remember that pretty distinctively, me being a weirdo for doing a little gaming back then. Whereas now it's pretty much everybody and everybody's mom who has a PlayStation 5, right? It's also just a more casual system. Of course, a lot of people are gonna buy GTA 6. So yeah, this is not gonna affect it that much. Regardless of how you spin it, GTA 6 can pretty much outwater any controversy. It would have to completely falter the code to GTA 6 or something before that thing wouldn't pull through in terms of sales. It's an unfortunate reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. So what is really the reality of the situation? The simple thing is that more people are waking up to the fact that they are being caught and face fucked at the same time by Sony. And I think that's a really important thing, because it means that more people are waking up to the fact that maybe I should not support this. That maybe I should have rights to own the products that I buy digitally. And when that starts to be pushed through, that is when we will see changes in the law. The more people know, the more people who are aware, the bigger the chances of something actually happening really is. So that's why that is, in my eyes, still a bit of a win. Because Sony is still getting fucking community noted on every single post on X. It's funny as shit, but it is still a thing. And while you'll see some people who'll be willing to take the corporate cock over there, the reality is, for the vast majority of people, they aren't willing to let Sony, fuck them over for no reason. I have personally made peace with the fact that I'll probably have to wait a few years before I play GTA 6. At least that's how it is currently. Unless Sony comes out tomorrow and they're like, guys, chill out. We will make a portal for you to download all your old digital media that you have bought. Then maybe we can talk. But the reality is probably not. And it's one of the reasons why I think this sucks so badly. I do want to play GTA 6. I'm one of those people. But I'm also somebody who cares pretty deeply about video games and preservation. And I know that PC is the premier way to preserve games. Now, the last point I do want to make when it comes to this sort of debate with preservation, especially in mind, is that on PC, you can also emulate games. Now, I have DockStation installed here. It is a program that essentially allows me to play old PlayStation 1 and 2 games. Now, why would I do that? Because there are quite a few games that have never been released on PC that I can't play anymore, that were never released in the West. A good example of one is Escape, which I have here. But there's also games like Kingsfield. And now I haven't gone very far in Kingsfield, but the reality is I could right now do a fresh boot of it, and then I could have my little game run here. And I could essentially watch one of the very first FromSoft games ever created, and I could play it in modern time, translated. Because Kingsfield 1 never made it across the waters to the West, meaning that the very original FromSoft game, the people who go on to make the Dark Souls franchise and the Elden Rings and your Sekiros, the first game is unplayable for you if you're in the West. And unless you have original hardware in Japan, then, good luck playing it on anything except an emulator. This is something that is only possible because I have a PC. And on top of that, you can even get it enhanced. In Kingsfield's case, it is in English. That is a private person, somebody who did this out of pure passion and love for this franchise. They translated the entire goddamn thing into English, so it's playable for more people. It's fucking cool. I don't have my controller, so I can't do any gaming right now. But it's super cool that it's a thing. And I think that sort of thing matters. Sure, we can all sit here and be like, oh, but we should only play the newest games. And I, to a certain extent, agree. I also play a lot of the newer games. I won't lie, I'm not a big oldie gamer. But I do like to look back sometimes to see where my favorite franchises were born and what design processes they went through to end up where they are at. An example of that is, with Kingsfield. I want to go through the Kingsfield game because I want to see where the entire design philosophy of FromSoft stemmed from and how that evolved over time. It also has one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, specifically Kingsfield 4, and you'll probably hear it in the background of this video if I'm being quite honest. But it is cool that you can do it. But that's about it for me. I really want preservation to become a thing, if it wasn't clear. I believe it's a fundamental right when you are buying something. And if it isn't a thing that we can get through, then at the very least, it should be made abundantly clear when you are getting a thing or licensing a thing, that it's a license and not a direct purchase. Because right now, I genuinely believe the vast majority of casual players, they believe that they're buying their games, when the truth is that those exact same games that they're spending 60, 70, 80 bucks on could be taken away from them at any given moment. Like I said, Reborn Discord linked in the description. In there they have the tutorial if you want to play Battleborn. Now it does require you to already own a copy of Battleborn on PC. I have no idea how you can acquire one, maybe somebody knows in there, but I will link that. There's also a tutorial in there on how to install the mod if you're interested in doing that. Otherwise, the emulator is called DockStation. I'll also link that, and I'll also link the article that talks about the sales of GTA 6. This video was a little bit less text heavy than last time, but I think there was some cool things in here. I wanted to show you the fact that yes, when you buy things on Steam, you don't always own it. It depends. But in a good amount of cases, you actually do. Cases like Battleborn, where you can go in and play a game that have been completely taken offline otherwise. You can actually still play that through Steam because you own it. If that isn't fucking cool, I don't know what is. But in my eyes, that is the sort of thing I'd like to see out in the future. But with all that being said, that's been it for me. Do the YouTube stuff if you want to. I appreciate you spending your time with me here tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.